class. It's week number 3, and we're going to be looking at the discussion post and the paper that will be due this week. Now, I've spent time going over the week 3 paper in a previous week, last week, and so what I'll be doing is just kind of reminding you of what I talked about and adding a little bit more on top. But we do want to take a look at the discussion for this week. Again, I last week told you should be focusing on the article by Pinder and Moore, The Resurrection of Taxonomy to Aid the Development of Middle-Range Theories of Organizational Behavior. So let's take a look at it. I've posted the assignment questions now for this particular reading, and what I've tried to do is link the discussion question to your paper, which is to develop a 10-theory taxonomy of administrative and organizational behavior. So let's take a look at this first. First of all, you're going to have read the article thoroughly, taken notes so that you feel like you have a good handle on what it's about and what the authors are doing. Pinder and Moore argue that using a taxonomy, a technique known as taxonomy, is an effective research method, and that it can be used effectively in the analysis of organizational behavior. So you are to describe what a taxonomy is, fully, and also why it's considered effective by the authors. Obviously, if they're saying it's a resurrection, at some point the idea of using taxonomy was not considered effective. So I'd like you to explain why the authors think it's now appropriate to use this research technique. And in addition, remember our good friend Bennis used, he didn't call it a taxonomy, but he called it tables, where he tried to assign particular characteristics to organizations to help categorize them and then also see or show how that led to leadership and authority relationships. So what I'd like you to do is, once you've explained what a taxonomy is and why Pinder and Moore think it's effective, then go back and explain the Bennis taxonomy table and show how he was using taxonomy and whether he was using it in the same way that Pinder and Moore were referring to the idea. Then also, I would like you to explain how this article relates to the paper that you're writing for this week, and it should relate fairly closely because you're making a taxonomy. And I would like you to describe which ideas that you've seen in the paper were helpful to you in writing your paper. Okay, and of course this is a loaded question because you should be using the ideas that are in the paper to help develop your taxonomy. Okay, so we're linking the discussion this week to the paper assignment of this week. And to me that makes sense. So you may have had some trouble, because I know I did, finding the article, but it is there. It is in the Kaiser Library, and this is actually a good test of your researching skills. If you can find it, then you're moving right along and should be able to handle most searching assignments in the library. If you're having trouble, don't wait till the last minute to ask me, how do I find this article? Okay, if you're having trouble finding it, let me know and I'll give you some hints. So then let's take a look at the paper. I've made a couple of additions, not really changes, but just additions here. So you're to choose 10 theories, approaches or models. They'll be referred to in different ways. And I would like to restrict it to the 20th and 21st century. That means starting with 1900 and ongoing to the current time. I don't really want to go back to the 1600s or the 1500s. Don't think those theories, although they're useful from a historical perspective, are that closely related to what we're talking about in modern times. So I would prefer use more current theories and choose 10 of them. Also, as you can see in the capital letters, you are not to use your textbooks. I know it seems easier because if you've taken the DBA 710 course, there's a textbook that basically describes everything you need to do for this paper, but that really isn't what we're looking for here. We're looking for you to research back into the original work. So if you decide you're going to use Bennis, or if you decide you're going to use Fiedler as one of the theories, well, you need to go back and look at the original work. Looking at a textbook is only telling you what the textbook author decided he wanted to put in about that author's work. It's not the original thing. It's kind of like going to a museum and looking at a prehistoric exhibit and then thinking, well, that's the same as if I was out on the actual discovery site doing the dig and understanding the context of these bones or artifacts that were found. Okay, reading the textbook is reading somebody else's opinion, and what we want to know is the original theorist's opinion and theories and how they explained why they came to the conclusions they did. All right, the taxonomy must be comprehensive enough to serve as a reference for future assignments. You need to, at the minimum, give the title and the theorist's name. That means the title of the theory and who described it. I would like you also to date it so we can sort of see a chronological development of these theories. So if it was from the 1920 period or 1930 period, please give the dates, at least the dates that the theorist, the author, was alive, so we know kind of when he was doing his work or her work. Okay. General description, an example of when the theory is applied, and then any other attributes may find significant. Now, this last component, any other attributes, those are the keys to the taxonomy. It's those things that you decide are important to break apart or categorize different theories according to these attributes. Okay, that's what Bennis did when he put together his tables. He tried to break apart organizations in terms of the type of work that they did, the type of tasks that they performed, and then in terms of numbered other different factors. Okay, so you're going to be doing somewhat the same thing. Okay, so if you have any questions about that before you turn in your final paper, again, it goes through Safe Assign, watch your plagiarism, and also start to develop your scholarly writing style. So what's scholarly writing? Well, by reading these research articles coming out of the refereed journals, you're getting an example of what scholarly writing is all about. Those are the types of things that get published. Of course, you make extensive use of material, support material from refereed academic journals, and you avoid things like Wikipedia and Google and textbooks because those are not refereed. And I'll be talking more at residency about what we mean by refereed and how a journal article becomes refereed and how it gets put into these journals. But for right now, let's leave it at that we want to use refereed academic journals. You're going to be using a blend of existing content and also new approaches to the existing work. That means you're going to be adding in your own ideas, not just simply repeating what other people have said. Even if you're paraphrasing and putting it in your same words, you're just using their ideas. Okay, so basically we're starting to think creatively, and when you have your papers evaluated for critical thinking and originality, that's what we're looking for. What are you adding to this? What has your analysis done, and how are you explaining your conclusions? So your writing needs to demonstrate solid knowledge of the topic. It needs to highlight a gap or incomplete chain of research into a particular topic. Focus on the topic that's of interest to the academic world, and then conform to generally accepted standards. Ultimately, we want to see writing that has the potential to be published in refereed academic journals. That's the objective and long-term goal of the work in the DBA program. Now, you may not feel like you're at that stage right now, and there's nothing wrong with that. The whole purpose, of course, in these writing assignments is to develop your skill, to learn what you're trying to do and learn how to do it better. And as a consequence, I've put together a video. It's in the Start Here section of the class. It's called Scholarly Writing, and it basically goes over what I've talked about here in much more detail and gives examples. Okay, so if you haven't looked at that, because we're starting to write papers now, if you haven't reviewed that video, I think it would be a good idea to start doing that now. Okay, so until next time, hopefully I didn't blow your mind, but good luck, and I'll be looking forward to seeing your papers and discussion posts.